Welcome back to Fool of a Took podcast, the best and only live in-person Lord of the Rings podcast doing a read-through in Audubon. This is it. It's the only one.
That is true.
Yeah. So, go us.
And that's Audubon, Pennsylvania, not Germany.
Yeah, we're actually in an 18-wheeler on the Autobahn.
Going 160 miles an hour.
It's moving. You guys would never believe technology.
It just
these
says
days.
shadow facts on the side.
Anyway, welcome back to another wonderful episode. I'm so excited to be here. Tonight we're going to be talking about Book 2, Chapter 8, Farewell to Lorien of the Fellowship of the Ring. And I would be remiss if I didn't immediately discuss the elephant in the room, which is my Mickey Mouse half glove that I'm wearing on my left hand right now. Anyone who's listening, you're not going to know, but if anyone's watching, I was attacked by a pit bull, and I got hurt real bad. It was actually not a pit bull; it was just a baby on the block.
just a baby on a leash.
Yeah. Just a baby went by the park and
They
it got
sharpened
me.
his teeth.
But anyway, I'm
It's the baby from Lemony Snicket.
Well,
Unfortunate
yeah,
series of
the biting
events
one.
with the very sharp teeth. When we were starting to do this, I thought, oh my God, it's like Farmer Maggot's dogs got ya.
You had a traumatic experience.
a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Just me.
Last chapter, Haldir introduced the company to Lady Galadriel and her husband, Lord Celeborn, and they informed them of what they had been up to until then. When the Lord and Lady heard of Gandalf's fate, they invited them to stay and rest and heal themselves, which they did for many days. One day, Galadriel showed Frodo and Sam her mirror, which showed them things that were, things that are, and things that yet may be, including the eye, which tried to get Frodo to touch the water until Galadriel made the vision vanish. Frodo offered his ring to her once it was revealed Galadriel possessed one of the 3 elven rings, but she refused. Galadriel admitted she would be corrupted just as anyone else, and hoped Frodo succeeds in his mission, even though it meant the elves will diminish.
Honestly, it was a real sort of somber reminder when we started reading this chapter of where we have just come from and the emotional state of everybody in the Fellowship, especially being in Lorien. So today we say farewell to Lorien.
It is a chapter that has a lot of very sad themes. One, everybody's dealing with the idea that now that in a post-Gandalf world, they have to figure out what they're going to do. And now they're being forced to do it. And the other thing is that Galadriel, Lorien, the elves, these are all themes that have been played up every time there's been a major story beat of loss, of diminishment, of what the actual impact of Frodo's journey is on people around him that are outside of the Fellowship even. Celeborn and Galadriel do not give counsel, right? Even though they skirt that line real hard. But Celeborn does say that everyone here has a choice to make. You can either stay, and then if you stay, you have to stay until we let you leave. The implication is that it will be safe, but really what it means is it will be safe for the elves to let them leave. And Celeborn is not 100% about when or if that will happen, because again, they feel like they're trapped right now. And then the other option is, or you can go, which is also bad. Because again, remember, the north is bad, the west is bad, the south is bad, the east is bad. Where do you go? How do you go? With that in mind, we turn to the company's plan, the Fellowship's plan, which is that they do not have one. In all the time they've been there, they've just been recovering. They know that Frodo is going to go east eventually. They know that Boromir and Aragorn want to go to Minas Tirith. And frankly, everybody is cool with the idea of leaving one safe place, Lorien, and going to another safe place, Minas Tirith. Boromir and Aragorn are the only two with a very clear next step. So they're all just kind of going on momentum and going to go with them. So Celeborn says, well, in that case, the River Anduin is your best bet. It's a straight shot south. It's the huge river that sort of divides the lands of shadow in the east from Gondor and the rest of the west. And just, take that sucker south and you'll be fine. I'll even give you some boats. They're good boats. Aragorn is profusely thankful. Oh, thank God. We have something because otherwise we're going to walk and no one wanted to do that. Sam is not enthusiastic because he likens, in his mind, a boat to like wild horses. It is dangerous. It's unpredictable. And having been around horses, Sam's doing wild horses a disservice because even a normal horse is extraordinarily dangerous. And I would get in the worst boat in the world before I would get on the best horse in the world.
Oh, jeez.
And after that, they kind of get released and it's like, hey, well, in the morning, we're going to get you guys packed up and out of here. So they all go back down to the ground to their pavilion and they kind of talk things over. And they don't really come to any more decisions. They all just kind of like, oh, yeah, we have all these options and no good ones, no good plans. But we get this really interesting paragraph on Aragorn's perspective, on his own insight, like sort of a peek inside Aragorn's mind. Aragorn's whole plan before Gandalf fell in Moria was to go to Minas Tirith, be declared king, and just whip ass and like fight the good fight. That was his entire plan because he's the heir of Elendil. And in his mind, that was how he achieves this prophecy. But now that Gandalf's gone, he knows he can't leave Frodo to do whatever comes next. He cannot leave the ring because, frankly, the next best person is going to be Gimli or Merry. And that ain't it. We also get an interesting moment where we catch some of Boromir's thoughts. But that's not because perspective changes. It's because Boromir lets the inside thoughts outside. And they're all just kind of sitting and pondering and thinking really hard. And Boromir's just kind of starts talking to himself a little bit while like staring at Frodo. And he's like, if you want to destroy the ring, you can't really do it by force. But if your goal is to fight them, it's folly to give this thing up. It would be folly to throw it away.
My precious.
And like Frodo's like looking at him like, what'd you say? Lives. It would be folly to throw away lives. I meant lives. What are you ordering? I think the fish looks great.
So I don't know if when you guys were reading that part about Boromir, I was just hearing Boromir's previews, like a dark, like deep voice chanting the black tone, like he's like staring at the ring. It's like he's like zoning in on it, and he's like starting to say this
like,
terrible
what
stuff.
What if I just eat him? 3, maybe 4 bites. It was like a wild moment. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you're not Frodo.
Right.
So
Aragorn's not even paying attention to it.
No.
So the sound that you just made, RJ. I don't know if you meant to do it, but it was basically Adam Sandler. And he was going,
I definitely was not trying to do that, but I was trying to do the dark or the black tongue, so that's interesting. Apparently, to me, the voice of Sauron is Adam Sandler.
The morning comes, and they still don't really have a plan, except now they got boats, and I guess they're going to float down towards Minas Tirith. And so the elves are helpfully like loading up food and gear for them. And Gimli gets a hold of some of this elf food. And it's like a cram. And he's like, this little cake, and takes a nibble of it. He lights up and he's like, oh, fuck. And shoves the whole thing in his mouth. And the elves are like, but slow down there, champ. That's a whole day's worth of food right there. This is the emergency food. This is to last you as long as you can make it. This is the end of the line. We don't normally give this shit out. Also, here's some fancy clothes. And they get these like camouflage cloaks, and nobody can really tell what color they are because they kind of like change in the light, and it's like grays and browns and greens and whatever. And for everybody who's played D&D, this is a cloak of elven kind, and it gives you +10 to hide. It's like it's standard like fucking anyway. Someone will laugh somewhere, maybe. Maybe. And somebody looks at the elves and is like, is this magic? And the elf is like, I don't really know what you mean by that. We just make it how we make it. Do you guys not weave moonlight and stars into your underwear? Is that not how you make cloth? Like, what is, like, it's this really interesting moment where the elvish and non-elvish perspectives on magic gets highlighted really hard, because to everybody who's not from Lothlorien, this is fucking magic. Like, if you put it on, you don't become invisible, but you become incredibly hard to see. No matter where you're standing, what you're doing, whatever it is, you just fade into the background.
It's become like an optical illusion.
Yeah. And for the elves, it's like, no, this is just how we make the cloak. This is I have 4 of these at home. This is just how we do
It's
it.
like if you sneezed and someone was like, "How did you do that?"
Right.
And you're like, "It's a sneeze." I don't know. It's a sneeze.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, for elves, being magical is just how they do.
Well, I'm sure you're going to bring this up, but the fact that Galadriel made these cloaks herself.
That's the other thing. Galadriel made these ones
so
special.
they're like extra special.
And literally no one outside of Lorien has ever been given one of these.
Has ever been given one or made one by her?
Both.
Both.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She doesn't even make the clothes for most
So
people
these
that
are
live
like
there.
pretty
She's
intense.
she's the queen. She's not into seamstresses stuff.
So is it good? Or
It's
does she do a
extra
shit
good.
job because she doesn't do this often? But the
No.
Oh my
sentimentality.
god, that's
No.
really funny, right? Like, no, everybody's like, "Oh, we got to take these stitches out. This is not right. This
It's
is
like being given armor, by the dwarves, and like the king made it.
And the king's like
And
a
you're-
600-year-old
And
drunk.
you're like, "Oh, it's not very good, but
Yeah,
I
like-
appreciate it." Like,
She's had thousands of years to learn them. So
yeah,
I
I
think
guess. That's
Yeah.
what do you do with your time?
Apparently fight evil
Yeah.
And make cloaks?
and make cloaks.
She would be, if she fought evil, she would use this kind of cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead she
Right?
has Haldir and her brothers just fuck off, kids.
Yeah.
Boys play outside. But speaking of Haldir, as they're getting ready to leave, Haldir walks up and he's back from the northern border and he's like, "You would not fucking believe the shit up there. I'm so glad no one decided to try and go home. Y'all would die." So I'm going to take you to the boats and you're going to get the fuck out of here. Come on, let's go. And that's it. He walks them down the banks of the Silver Lode and to the Hythe, which is Hythe. Which is an old English word that basically just means like a boat landing place. So he brings them down to the Hythe where all these other like very colorful boats are. And there's these like 3 plain ones that are for them. And the boats are kind of odd. And the elves were very concerned that like, you guys need to practice these. You're not used to this kind of a boat. He's basically describing a canoe without using that word. And if you've ever been in a canoe, if you can maintain your balance, it's a great boat. If you don't know exactly how to get in and out of a canoe, you get very wet every time. Because you flip, you fall in, it's whatever. For people who maybe don't know what a canoe is, it's the boat that they use at every summer camp you've ever seen or been at.
Right. Real long, skinny.
Yep.
Single file.
Yeah. It's like sort of like if a hot dog was a boat.
That's a great visual.
It's important that they get some practice and they take them out onto the river and kind of paddle around a little bit. So they do, and they go upstream a ways because even though they'll never sink, they will absolutely flip. They will flip right the fuck over. So coming at them, they meet this swan-shaped ship. Like it's like a swan's head and wings, and it's a huge boat. And in it are Celeborn and Galadriel and a bunch of other elves of their court. And they say, "I know you're leaving, but we did not share a meal together, and that feels important. So turn around, go back to the Hythe, and we'll all share one first and final meal before we send you on your way."
Which is wild because they were there for days.
Yeah, right?
Do elves not eat?
Maybe they're just very busy.
I think they just didn't give a shit about them.
Well,
They were leaving them to rest and heal too.
Yeah.
They're giving them
yeah,
some
you don't
alone
want to
time.
bother them
The
with a
Lord
dinner
and
party.
Lady of these woods are busy people.
Well, especially because like,
She was weaving those cloaks.
and
True.
just before the Fellowship got there, they woke up the evil that lives 2.5 miles up the road,
Yeah.
and so like shit got real busy real fast.
They
So
have a lot
maybe
of
if they
orcs to kill.
Yeah, maybe if they had stayed in like another 10 years, they would have gotten a dinner. But you know, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
They're getting it now.
They're
What
getting
is
it
a
now.
year?
Well, what even is a year? How much can a year cost?
$10?
So as they're going down the river, Galadriel sings this like incredibly sad song about like leaving Lothlorien, leaving Middle Earth, going out into the West. And it's like a sad fucking song to be singing at all, and kind of wild to be singing it to the Fellowship as you paddle down a river before you send them out of Lorien. They get back to the Hythe and they're all eating. It's all very good food, but Frodo is like barely eating, barely drinking, and really he's just drinking in the sight of Galadriel. Because to him, she's no longer terrible. She's just powerful and somehow out of time. Like she seems to him like something from the past that he's now seeing for the first time. And everybody eats, and then Celeborn like claps his hand and is like, "All right, meal's over. Let's talk this one through again because you guys seem to have portions of a plan, and now I've given you boats, and I would feel criminally liable if something were to happen to you if I just pushed you out into the water. So he says, you're going to take the silver lode, the stream where you just were on, then you'll reach the Anduin, and you will turn south. And from that moment on, everything on the far bank, everything on the east side of the river is enemy territory. And you're going to take this river down to the Falls of Rhoros, which is like, a series of like waterfalls and rapids. And you'll also find the Entwash, which is a different river that feeds into the Anduin. And Celeborn's advice is to get off the river before you get to the Falls of Rhoros, head west, and kind of go over the Entwash and into Rohan, and then make your way into Minas Tirith that way. And if you go too far, you will find Fanghorn Forest. It's a weird place. You don't go that far. If you get to another forest,
there.
if you make it to the next forest, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Go back, make a left. Because if you stay on the river on the Anduin and you go further south, you will come to the marshes. You will come to the dead marshes. And beyond the dead marshes is Cirith Gorgor, the pass of dread, the pass of fear. It's a break in the mountains that ring Mordor, and that is the location of the Black Gate. That is the entrance to Mordor.
Oh, geez.
That's the entrance to Mordor. Oh,
So-
snap.
I mean, that's if they make it over the waterfall.
So Mordor is
Right.
right past Gorgor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mordor, you go from Mordor to Gorgor to...
For more.
For more, and then you make it to Wetwang.
God damn it.
Yeah, well, that's apparently there's another swamp called something in Elvish, but Wetwang, and
I love it.
it's a whole thing. It's, I think, the only dick joke in the Lord of the Rings.
I think that's
But
from
maybe-
his
No,
war
we've
days.
established it is not.
I feel like in his war days, him and his buddies had to get through this like bog or like swampy marsh or something, and they called it the Wetwang.
Oh my god, because you're up to your fucking hips and what?
Immediately when I heard that title, I'm like, that has to be a little
That's
throwback to an
funny as
inside joke with his
fuck.
war buddies.
Oh, that's fucking
I'm
funny.
probably wrong. I made that up out of my ass. Like I don't
Just
care. Pulled it out of nowhere.
It doesn't matter where it came from. It's fucking hilarious. It's a swamp called Wetwang because if you walk through it, you get your balls wet. Oh my god, that's good.
That's immediately where my mind went. I'm like, that's brilliant.
You read too much smut. So sorry. No, that's really funny.
I'm not
though.
sorry. I read everything. No judgment.
So Celeborn, after he gets telling them about their balls, he says, really though, don't go to Fanghorn Forest. It is a weird place. And Boromir's like, I have been all over. I had to travel 400 leagues, which is 1,200 miles, to get to Rivendell last time I went there. I think I can find my way around. But also, like, Fanghorn is like full of wives' tales and like old stories and fairy tales and bullshit. If I had to go there, we'd get through. It'd be fine. And Celeborn's like, yeah, okay, man. So clearly you need no help and no advice. Cool. But also don't discount every old story you hear because sometimes they contain a bit of truth, which I think is something that, elders would generally say to younger people, but I feel like it carries a lot more weight when that person is like 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years old. And they're telling you like this, like fly, like, hey, if you hear something, pay attention. Galadriel says to everybody that, do not be sad because even though night must follow noon and our evening draws closer, there is hope. And hope is all we got. So take this, we'll drink one more toast together and get you guys out of here. And so they pass this cup around and she's like, by the way, presents. Because remember when they showed up and it was like they arrived in Lorien and like her big thing was like, and this is Celeborn who can give gifts beyond all other kings. Mm-hmm. And in the back of his mind, he's probably like, I gave them boats. What the fuck is this? They've got ropes. They've got boats. Like this is what, okay, what do you got? Because Galadriel has gifts for everyone. And it starts with Aragorn and he receives a special scabbard for his sword. That means it will never break even in defeat, which I thought was like fucking a cutting remark to make, given that they just put that fucking thing back together, and that's part of how they all got here in the first place.
And not only that, that's the first gift she gives out. You're like, holy shit.
How are you going to top
How are you
that?
going to follow up with that?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, she follows real hard on that.
Yeah.
Because she says, what else you want, Aragorn? And he says, you know what I want, but it's not in your power to give. And the only way to it is going to be through darkness and terror. So she says, in the meantime, take this. It's this giant green elf stone in a silver setting. It's gorgeous. And this was left for you. And I gave this to my daughter, who gave it to her daughter, who wanted you to have it. And Aragorn like pins this thing onto his coat, and it's like a transformed man. The years, the horror, all of it fall away, and he is just fucking stoked. Galadriel's daughter was Celebrain, who was Elrond's wife, who is Arwen's mother, which means that Arwen left this for him. And it's this symbol of Arwen's caring for him. That's how you follow up the magic scabbard. And then she turns to Boromir and gives him a gold belt. But like it says a belt of gold, and when I read that, I thought like a money belt, like a like back in the day when you were going on a dangerous journey and you wanted to carry money on you, you sewed it into like different parts of your clothes, and one of the things you would do is sew gold coins in your belt. And so I was like, when I heard "and a belt of gold," I was like, oh, she just gave him a pile of money? Like, what the fuck? And it's actually worse than that. It's just a belt.
It's just a belt.
No money, just belt. Well, then Merry and Pippin get silver belts. And Legolas gets a warbow that is strung with elf hair, which I thought was weird, but
Haldir's.
but which hairs?
By Legolas.
But which hairs?
Oh, God.
And then to Sam, the gardener, Galadriel gifts a box full of basically magic soil from Lorien. And the idea is that even though this isn't going to keep you alive and it's not going to help you on your journey, but at the end, when all this is done and you get home, you can sprinkle this on your land and in your gardens, and it will always flourish, and it will grow in a way that it will end up being like the only memory of Lorien in Middle Earth, because Lorien is going to fade away like the elves. But this will be your gift, and this will be a remembrance for you for all time. Sam's all choked up. He gets real red in the face, and he can't really speak, and everybody's like, okay, buddy. Because then she turns to Gimli and says, Gimli, what would you like? And he says, nothing. What else would I need when I have seen and heard the Lady Galadriel? And they're like, oh, that's a real smooth answer. Smooth. But maybe some hair? Could I just have a little hair? One of your hairs?
That
Just
creepy
one?
ass face.
Just one? And
What a weirdo.
yeah, and even in the writing, Galadriel's like, wow, that was super forward, but okay.
But I did force you to name
Yeah.
something.
And that was the smoothest way you could possibly ask for that. So here's 3 hairs off the top of my head. By the way, what are you going to do with it? And in all seriousness, he says, I'm going to cast these in crystal, and they're going to become an heirloom of my house and an eternal symbol of the friendship between elves and dwarves forever. And she's like, that's amazing. And, you are a fucking roller coaster of a being. And gold will hold no dominion over your heart. It's not just a stereotype. Dwarves love to find treasure. They love to work beautiful things. That's why and how they ended up finding Durin's Bane, because they were digging for what? Mithril. And finally, she turns to Frodo. And for Frodo, there's no questions. She just hands to him a crystal phial, like a crystal jar almost. And in it is water from Galadriel's magic fountain and starlight. And this will always be a light for you in the darkest places. No matter what happens, no matter where you go, you will have the light of Elbereth with you. And he's got nothing to say to that. He just says thank you. I'm like, that's there's. What else do you say?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining him trying to hide in a dark place, and he like won't stop glowing. And he's like, shit.
Would anyone else, their mind like cast back to when he faced the 9 riders, and he says, and by the light of, I forget what all he said, but he's like, and Elbereth, I cast you to stay on the other side, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
He wasn't speaking the language of command, but he was just saying whatever. And then she's literally giving him that light instead of just evoking the name. She literally gave him that gift. That's such a cool moment.
Well, yeah, and hopefully if that happens again, it will go differently for Frodo, because
Yes.
remember after he got like magically punched in the face.
Yeah. They were like, ha ha, little hobbit.
Oh, y'all want to play that game? Pew!
Yeah.
Coma. So, I mean, the whole time Celeburn's like, I already gave him fucking boats. Why are you gonna give him the good stuff? Why are you doing this? Why are you embarrassing me? Boats? I
Your
gave them
gifts are so
boats.
much better than mine.
He knows his place.
And after the gift giving, it's time to leave. So they get in their boats and they push off into the river and they drift away. And Galadriel starts singing almost like a dirge, almost like a funeral song about endings and essentially how everything is going to end for the elves. Because again, win or lose, Lorien is gone. If Frodo loses, there's no keeping darkness at bay. Once Sauron has the ring, it's game over for everybody. If he wins and destroys the One Ring, that will probably rob the 3 Elven rings of their power. And that's the only thing keeping Lorien in this like eternal state of bliss. So Lorien's gone either way. And she's singing this song to them as they drift down this river and they turn a bend and the golden trees of Lorien are gone forever. And suddenly they're back in the real world and it's cold and it's miserable and the trees are bare. And like everybody's kind of like just barely holding their shit together. And Gimli's weeping openly because they've got 3 boats. And in the first boat is Frodo, Sam, and Aragorn. The second boat is Boromir, Pippin, and Merry. And the final boat is Legolas and Gimli and all the gear.
All their gifts.
All their gifts. All the gifts. Just all in one boat. And Legolas is kind of like, hey, what's wrong, buddy? What's up? And Gimli's like, I terror, darkness, all these things are fine. I can deal with that. I've known that was going to be part of this. I would never have thought about the despair of seeing joy and light and then having to leave it.
Yeah.
And Legolas's only response is, yeah, but you've seen it. And that memory will stay with you forever. To which Gimli kind of like, shrugs his shoulder and is like, well, I don't know how it works for elves, but memories are not what the heart desires. And I don't want to talk about this anymore. Pay attention before we flip. And he shuts that conversation down.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of fun because like tough guy letting himself be a little, like he suddenly realizes he's being vulnerable and he's done with this.
But they're best friends now.
I love that.
They are.
Fast friend.
Fast friends. Afternoon becomes evening. Evening becomes night. And these bare trees float by in the mist like ghosts. And Frodo is miserable. And there's no animal sounds. There's no wind almost. It's just water and the sound of the paddles and misery. And eventually he falls asleep sitting up in the boat. And that's how the chapter ends.
I thought that was such a gorgeous chapter.
It was amazing.
The writing was beautiful.
It was very rich.
You could feel everything that the characters were feeling. Mm-hmm. It was really heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Packed a punch. Once we got out of Moria and we're like in Lorien, we're sort of like, oh, everything's perfect here.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like coming down,
Right.
coming down the mountain.
There's the false sense of euphoria.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, back to the real world.
Well,
You
not
know?
only are they like leaving this perfect place, but everyone's, including the people that live there, Galadriel especially, is coming to grips with the fact that it is going to be gone.
Yeah.
It's going to fade away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the only life she's ever known is just going to disappear no matter what happens.
Yeah.
This like sense of inevitable impending loss. It's rough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found this was one of the like chapters that hit me the hardest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Galadriel versus Tom Bombadil.
Oh my God.
My two favorite chapters.
Tom Bombadil doesn't know loss.
No.
Because Goldberry is eternal, so he's fine no matter what happens.
I think this is
Yeah.
like the closest to like Gandalf falling. It's like the saddest. I mean, that's like the shock and sudden loss. This is like the when you have a loved one or something in your life you know is coming and are going to pass. And you're just waiting for it, trying to
Yeah.
prep for it as much as you can, but you can't. And you're just trying to come to terms with it as it's happening in slow motion.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
And it was like last chapter we sort of were introduced to the fact that this was going to happen.
Right.
But like the emotional toll of it doesn't hit you until this chapter when really Galadriel is going off about it.
Well, she had like a very
She had-
calm, peaceful acceptance. But now it's sunk in and she's allowing herself to grieve.
Yes.
I had a
Yes.
question. In regards to that, how long do the elves have left?
Well, I mean, it depends on whether or not Frodo is successful.
If
So
Frodo's
he
successful,
is successful, it's just however long it takes him to get the ring to Mordor.
They're not going to evaporate, but it's like the thing that's holding their magic kingdom together is going to unravel. And maybe it'll happen soon or maybe it'll happen late, but like,
because I was thinking about that, like, if this is happening on elf time,
right, it's different.
then this is fine. This could be like 2,800 years from now.
Yeah.
And sorry,
Yeah.
like everything else, you're gonna have your end of chapter and then new beginnings of something else. But if this is human time and like in 20 years the elves will fade, that's very different. Because it's like different if somebody like comes to you and they're like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I just got diagnosed with cancer," and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what's the deal?" And they're like, "Yeah, limited amount of time." How long? Maybe 90 years.
Kind of, right? Like,
And you're like,
it's,
huh?
here's the other thing, though.
You're fine. That's very different than someone being like, you have 3 months.
90
like,
days,
or
yeah.
90 days,
No, so what this comes back to is, again, kind of the contrast with Galadriel and Elrond. Because the Council of Elrond was like this incredible lore dump, and then this visit to Lorien has just been like an emotional roller coaster. But if we're looking
emotional dump, if you will.
yes. So
Pat had one of those this morning.
look, man, fiber pills.
Dang.
So Gandalf thought that they had so little time left to accomplish this mission that they should leave and cross the mountains in January. Instead of waiting a couple of months for the passes to clear, they needed to go right now, no matter what that meant.
Every second of every day, Sauron could get Frodo in the ring. So there's like that's the deciding factor. There's no black and white answer if that's
But that
gonna
would
happen or
not that would not cause the elves to diminish.
They wouldn't evaporate, but
No, it would. It would get
it would not be diminished. They would be defeated, which is different.
they would still be diminished.
Yeah. You're talking about what will happen if Frodo wins and how
Yeah.
they will fade, how magic will fade out of existence.
Yeah.
And you're reminding everybody that we're on Sauron's time the whole time, which is fact. No one expects this to work because we're sending this little kid to go fight Sauron. Fuck, that's never going to work. We got to plan to leave.
So why is the Fellowship continuing on their journey in the same setup with Elrond's setup, and not like Galadriel and Celeborn being like, okay, here's what the new plan is?
Because they do not give counsel. And also, if I'm them and I'm looking at this plan and Gandalf just went down, he was the thing I was hanging this all on.
I feel like
think
Elrond came up with the plan, or at least helped
And
to
that's her
once all the
son-in-law.
information was.
And she was like, fuck that dude.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
That's her son-in-law.
My daughter married an asshole.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
they were like, that's Elrond's plan, and she was like, I'm out.
Elrond came up with this?
Nice to meet you. Good luck.
that's so funny.
Here's some cloth
I
and
just
some
wanted to
wood.
say-
You can take our boats. We're not going to need them. Like, fucking. And also, can we talk about the fact that literally, I just wanted to say it's so bad during the summer, and I just got to get it out real fast. These people who are so great at giving gifts, they have the most amazing gifts for everybody. And then she turns to Gimli and goes, "Did you want something? Like, did you want a gift?"
She's like, we
Say
shared this
something.
special connection, but I couldn't think of anything for you.
I was like, what the fuck? No, they literally showed up on boats, took the boat out, and they were like, it's like you're going to a holiday. We just had Christmas, and we had this whole thing where we were like, do we have enough gifts for each person? And Celeborn's going, there's nothing for the dwarf, and she's like, it's fine. Kind of a dick move.
She had no plan.
Super fucking dick move, though. Socks is
Gimli
good.
got an iTunes gift card.
Yeah.
People who give iTunes gift cards, you're like, you must hate me.
Right, and then when you're choosing those gifts for Boromir and Merry and Pippin, and you settle on belts, and you're like, I guess that's okay.
Who's bought somebody a belt for Christmas? You know how that feels.
Yeah.
But they somebody decided that the hobbits only need silver.
They're like, we're going to explode soon. Don't give them the good stuff.
Well, that was like one Christmas where I got a North Face light winter coat from my aunt. and I had no idea what North Face was.
Yeah.
So I wore it paintballing,
Oh no.
Oh no.
and my mom she was mortified.
Did anybody else feel like Gimli had a little bit of a crush on Galadriel?
100%.
Totally. But
The way
not
he
just
was
Galadriel, but like all of Lorien.
Also,
Like,
Celeborn.
Yeah.
Also Celeborn.
Well, all
He
No,
was
he
like,
was
"Hey,
enamored
Kelly."
with the whole place.
he couldn't get Haldir to come along, so he like buddied up to Legolas. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that happens made me think of you, Chris, when Celeborn says, maybe you should take the river. I could give you some boats. And they're like, well, we're kind of afraid of water. He's like, well, I know that like most of you are good with water. Boromir, Aragorn, and Legolas. And Mary goes, and me. Not all hobbits are afraid of water.
I wasn't going to say anything because I'm sure the audience is tired of hearing me complain about Mary. But when this happened, my face lit up. And I was like, oh, he's such a dick.
shit.
He's such a dick. I knew he was going to do this. And then I was like, oh, I'm not going to make a note of this because
I got it. I got you.
I'd be a two-trick pony if that's all I did is complain about Mary. But
Hashtag justice for Mary. No, just
Yeah.
kidding.
No, I mean, he's earned a lot of criticism at this point. But I think what's also funny is that Pippin hasn't had a single line.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, you're right.
yeah,
He
also,
didn't say a single thing this chapter.
Right.
Ooh.
He's just eating all of that elven bread.
Yeah, he is. He's just in the corner with his belly like out to here.
Just in the corner smashing cakes.
yeah, seriously. They kind of had this weird moment right after that where Aragorn has this sort of introspective moment where he's, kind of considering how far he's going to go now that he is leader. He was following Gandalf. He was sort of the second in command. He had his own set of duties to do. And now those duties have shifted. And it was interesting because he's such a clear leader. I mean, even when he speaks with authority on things, right? He's like, we should do this. We should not do that. I say that from experience. I've been there. I've dealt with this. I've done this. But Aragorn seems to be the only person who doesn't see that authority in him.
What has his life been prior to this? He's been alone in the wilderness hunting things.
Yeah.
And now now he finds himself suddenly in charge of the most important thing to happen in his lifetime, in arguably Elrond's even lifetime. Like the huge, like this is beyond what he could have imagined because, okay, not only is he now going to fulfill the prophecy, he is the heir of Elendil. He will be
Right.
the next king. Holy shit.
And speaking of that, like he's grown up his whole life being like, I am the bloodline of the guy who fucked up. And we're in the position we're in. Like it is my bloodline's fault that the ring was not destroyed. To have that weight on your shoulders,
Yeah.
no wonder he was hiding in the woods. He's probably terrified.
Talking to himself.
Like, is it nurture versus nature? Like, will I rise above and make a different choice? Or is this my fate to fuck up and continue to allow this evil to persist?
And now that Gandalf is gone, it is in his hands.
Yes,
to
he's
lead
almost getting
Frodo.
forced into this position to take up the throne,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
and become this prophecy. It's really, really intense.
Yeah, there's this crazy push and pull moment because, early on in the chapter, they establish very clearly no one has any idea what the plan is. And
They
they're going
didn't
to.
know what Gandalf was going to do.
Right. And they're just going to Minas Tirith because it sounds like a safe place and it's what Boromir and Aragorn were going to do anyway. So I guess maybe we'll just do it. But there's a point where Tolkien makes it very, very fucking clear that if anyone, and by anyone I mean if either Aragorn or Frodo had said, we're not going to Minas Tirith, we're going straight at Mordor, everyone would have done that.
I know.
And Aragorn knows that and said nothing. And Frodo said nothing because neither of them know what the fuck they're going to do.
Well, speaking of original plan, when she was like, yeah, Gandalf didn't tell them what he was going to do. Because what was his number one rule? Keep it secret, keep it safe. Snitches get stitches. Like, he wasn't telling shit until it needed to be said. Right?
I mean, would have been helpful.
Yeah. In retrospect, instead of saying "fly, you fools," she'd be like, "This is what I was gonna do next." just like shout out like coordinates, like latitude to Aragorn. He's like 15500. Come on,
800, 588, 2300.
whatever it is. Wait, Laura, I still can't say it. I just said kilometers.
No, Gandalf's falling to his doom. He's falling into darkness. He's fly, you fools. And he's really hoping that the other letter from Butterbur made it.
Oh my God.
Oh, we bring up something that's super interesting. It's not on my list of things to talk about, but something's been following them.
Where's it been?
Where the fuck has it been?
Haldier's got it in a bag. he's like, I packed this for you.
How
about
do
to
you
throw it in the
elude the
river.
elves? How do you move forward? Because you can't just go around this thing, you know. Maybe you can. I don't know. But Lorien seems like it's a pretty big place.
Also seems like it's a busy place right now.
a
But
busy place.
They've already decided twice not to kill it because they didn't know what it was. So it's fairly safe there.
But they're not letting it in.
No, and also
No.
Galadriel's power.
Maybe
like,
it was hanging
can't
out by the
probably
gate.
find them. Like
What-
she can hide. Like she can hide herself from Sauron. That thing is not going to see her or where she is or the people near her unless she wants it to.
Something is following them. And the only reason Haldir didn't kill it is because he didn't know if it belonged to the hobbits or not.
Frodo should have just said, "That's not mine. I don't know what that is. It's following."
Well, it's not
me."
even that it's theirs. He said, "I thought he was of a hobbit nature." He didn't know what it was.
It's beast shaped. But like also Haldir's I think the only person who's acknowledged out loud that this thing exists. Even Frodo is like,
He did once.
what, to Gimli? And Gimli
Yeah,
was like,
in the trees.
Nah, you
Whatever.
crazy. No, I don't see or hear nothing. Let's go.
And then
Yeah.
just someone else to bring it up makes Frodo be like, "Okay, I'm not seeing things in the dark."
Yeah, Frodo thought he
I'm
was
not
crazy.
hearing voices. I mean, because after he saw everything in the Shadow Realm, after he got stabbed, he probably was in his back of his mind like, "Oh my God, am I living half in the Shadow Realm, half here?
Is this
like,
really
am I
happening?
seeing this, or
Am
is
I
this
just-
a after effect of getting stabbed by
Am
this
I-
Morgul blade?"
Yeah, am I just
makes
haunted?
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why no one else senses it. Even people like Aragorn or Boromir,
Or even Legolas.
Legolas, yeah.
Legolas should have
Yeah.
picked up on that.
Legolas is too busy.
He's got no excuse.
He's
Skipping
sniffing
through
his
the-
own pits.
Yeah, he's like. So actually, let's talk about that for 1 second
Yeah.
because all the other
Because
elves,
Laura, you have an addiction with sniffing your own pits.
it's real bad in public, man. Like it's just, it cost me a job. So
I'm just seeing Molly Shannon on SNL.
but when we talk about, so when we talk about elves, right? When we talk about Legolas, Chris, you'd asked before, does Elrond rule a different set of elves than Galadriel? And Legolas comes from a different set of elves.
A third,
third
set.
set.
Yes, from Mirkwood.
Right.
3 rings
The
and 3
underground
sets of
elves or
elves. No,
something.
there's probably more than that.
Yeah. The Mirkwood elves live in Mirkwood. They live underground. And this whole thing, have you heard Legolas once talk about leaving? His folk are there to fight. All the other elves are like, nah, peace, we out. We got boats. We're doing
So
this.
Legolas's elves are a tougher kind of elf.
More stubborn, perhaps?
Yeah. Like a dwarvish elf.
Wiry.
Like the wood, the Sylvan elves, the
Yeah,
wood
they,
elves.
they don't live in a little house that's easily exposed. They live in the.
Well, if you think about it, the
The
rest
earth.
are like in the trees, you know, and all these things, and they're like digging into the ground, like we are here.
And didn't Galadriel even say that like it would be the fate of her people to either say basically go west and go into the Undying Lands, or to stay and fade and go
away.
underground and like be
Yeah.
seen
And
less?
she says it condescendingly.
But she says it to Frodo.
Well,
but
they
I'm sure
go into a
Frodo's going to take
cave.
that and
Yeah.
Yeah, they go into a cave and they become lesser than they were, and they be forgotten
She's
from
very
memory.
condescending about Legolas's people there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's implied, obviously. She's not calling it out publicly, but it's implied that that's kind of. She's like, "What do you want me to be like them?"
yeah, right.
Which is really interesting because we're a third party reading this, and we're like, "Hey, you're talking about our guy. That's our fellowship guy. You're talking."
Well, that
about
brings
right
back
now."
the Numenorians, you know, mating with quote unquote regular humans. It's like one has more magic in their blood. It's not that really, but if you think about how the creator gave the Numenorians gifts, like she's just a different type of elf.
Are the Mirkwood elves just as magical and immortal as the others?
Sort of, and yes. Yes, all elves share this like immortal thing. Like an elf will live forever until you stab it to death. Or it leaves Middle Earth altogether and goes to the Undying Lands in the West, to Valinor. Takes a boat to heaven, is essentially what happens. Are they all magical? They sort of all have that kind of potential, but think about when the elf was asked, are these cloaks magical? And the elf is like, I don't know what you mean. We make them the same way we make everything else. and it comes out this way. What do you mean? What do you mean am I magical? I'm not doing magic. So if you have those skills and you have that craft, you are magical. But like skills and knowledge and craft, if you've lost it and no one teaches it to you, you don't have it.
It's like a byproduct.
Right.
You know,
It's like an
so
ancient
it's like an alien race
Yeah.
came and it was like, human beings, are you all as fast as the NFL runner? And we're like, well, some of us are different.
So when the elves are giving out the cloaks and the food to the company, one of them is like, someone asked them, are these magic, like you were saying? And I love this. I actually underlined this line. They explain how they make the clothes by saying, we put the thought of all that we love into all that we make. And this is how it turns out. That's all they can understand of quote unquote magic. They just think loving thoughts and something magical happens. Which I thought was such a really cool, like,
And it's normal.
yeah, they're like, yeah, I just think about my favorite things of this world, and this quote comes out really awesome.
We as crafts people in the human race take things and create magic with them that changes other people's lives. I mean, Tolkien created magic when he wrote this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know,
You said that.
like as humans, we have a different way of creating what the elves did, and the way that was just phrased was so beautiful. And
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You know,
And he's putting what he loves into this,
Yeah.
and then it's impacting us. Yeah.
And then, so that's a question, right, of like, is that a type of magic, right? And it goes back to kind of a skill thing.
Yeah.
Because the most creative thing I've ever done was one time I matched my tie to my eyes. And that was it.
what is magic? Is it the explainable,
Trigonometry.
unexplained? Is it
think
something that is
so.
very explainable if you
It's an
understand
illusion.
it, but unexplainable if you don't understand it?
It defies
So
the
as a-
feats of common might.
Because magic would be like when there was a group of people that looked out at the ocean and they were like, nobody go in or you die. And someone was like, I'm going to throw the tree in and stand on it.
Yeah.
And they were like, well,
Look at this hot dog boat.
Ted's dead for sure. And then he drifted off. And they were like, that was fucking magic.
First boat ever.
But it's clearly explainable when you understand it. Is magic simply
Something you can't
to
understand.
generalize it? Something that is, like something that if you can't understand it, but it is explainable if you do understand it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the way that elves view magic. Because they
Yeah.
understand the process that created this thing.
I know I'm trying to generalize magic and it can't be generalized, but I'm hunkering down on it.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The unexplainable.
Right.
Somebody can't figure it out. And to that person, it
It's
is magic.
Well, thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Thunderstorms are fucking magic until we figured out that it's just a pressure
Right.
differential.
Because Galadriel kind of got pissy about the use of the term magic in the last chapter. Because Sam was like, I want to see her do magic. And she was like, is this magic for you? You know what I mean? Like,
Then it made him
She was
cry.
like, it's not magic. Yeah.
She's like, look at old Gaffer now in the Shire. No, just kidding.
Was Dad
okay?
No, she doesn't control the mirror. She did not know what even the mirror was going to show him. Yeah.
But, you
But
know,
she might have had a little bit of a toot in the mirror and was like,
she
I
was
got
very
you.
tooty. So
Oh
I
no,
just,
Sam! It's a home invasion. What will Gaffer do? Oh no! What are we What are we talking about?
Yeah, I can move on.
So I mentioned I thought this chapter, like the overall feeling it left me was just gorgeous. Like the feelings that it evoked, the writing. And so I wanted to share a couple of the lines that really hit me in this chapter. When Galadriel gave her gift to Sam, she was saying, for our spring and summer are gone by, and they will never be seen on earth again, save
love
in
that
memory.
line. Love that line.
That is heartbreaking. Like, she didn't even know until Frodo showed up that this was really happening. And she's like, well, you'll never see our spring and summer again, and neither will we. So when they were leaving on the boat, Tolkien wrote, for so it seemed to them, Lorien was slipping backward, like a bright ship masted with enchanted trees sailing on to forgotten shores, while they sat helpless upon the margin of the gray and leafless world.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
So it was like they were sitting still, but Lorien was moving back
Yeah.
in time away from them.
Their world was becoming grayer and dimmer, and
Lorien
worse.
was
Literally
moving away from
diminishing.
them because it's fading.
Yeah.
Right? And it will never be the same again.
It's leaving them.
Yeah. And I love that, you talk about how, RJ, you particular talk about how the elves are like a glance into the past.
They're the physical embodiment in this world of the past.
Exactly.
And,
now it's
what
going to
was
be
before.
gone.
I know.
Oh, Jesus.
Not necessarily the elves themselves, but like Lothlorien in particular.
But not only that, once they are, it's hard. Like, unless someone like Sam exists, they might not even be in history. They might not even be in memory. Mm-hmm. They are really going to fade. There was a quote that really hit me by Gimli near the end where he says, "Memory is not what the heart desires." First off, just as a person
beautiful.
who has been, had to deal with a lot of grief, I feel that it hit me to my core. But also, if you think about the whole chapter in Galadriel's POV, memory is not what she desires either, but it's being thrust upon her. And she's handling it with grace, and she's trying to process it in a healthy manner and share it and pass on these beautiful things to the people while she still can. And it really was just such an eloquent way to summarize this whole 3-chapter span in Lorien.
Yeah.
Memory is not what the heart desires, but this is what's happening.
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite quotes, was also Gimli talking about how he felt about leaving Lorien.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I mean, you covered this a little bit in the summary, but he was saying, I did not know where the chief peril lay. I thought it would be torment in the dark was the danger I feared, and it didn't hold me back. But I would not have come had I known the danger of light and joy. Now I've taken my worst wound in this parting, even if I were to go this night straight to the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
And I
Even
guess
if
for
I
Gimli,
died, yeah.
part of that is his new crush on Galadriel, but I also feel like it's Lorien, just this magical ancient world, and knowing that
Peace and love.
he could never see it again, even if he would survive the whole journey and go back. It'll be gone.
Yeah, it's not that he could not, it's that he will not. Like
Yeah.
seeing something beautiful and knowing that it'll still be there and maybe one day you could come back or share it with other people is different than catching a glimpse of something
And it's gone.
and knowing it's perfect and it's just gone forever. And there
Yeah.
will never be a thing like it again. And that makes Galadriel's gift to Sam so much more impactful.
Also, of course, the one that joined this quest because he wanted to see elves.
Yeah.
So who better to leave the next step? He's almost going to be the caregiver of the history of them in
Yeah.
a sense. Because she says, when you plant this, a glimpse of Lorien will be in your garden.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah, a little
It's
piece
like
of
they
her
were
will
good
forever.
gift givers.
Well, unless you're a hobbit. Well, the other hobbits.
The other hobbits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary Pippin and Boromir did get the
you
shit
guys
end of that
get?
stick.
We got coasters. They're signed.
You guys got gifts?
Oh my God.
So did anybody else notice that this was the chapter that sort of is the moment from that clip that we always, the Vigo clip that we always
Yes.
say?
Yes.
They're like all got in the canoes and they're heading out. And I was thinking to myself, Aragorn and Frodo,
Vigo.
this is Vigo.
Save
This
yourself.
is the thing from the YouTube clip. So I gotta now I want to rewatch that. And maybe I'll put it in a YouTube clip or something. But
I can't
Anyway.
swim.
yeah. Save
yourself.
What do you mean? What is what are you talking about? If the boat flips
can't
over, don't try to save me. Save
So
yourself.
it was like such a funny inside joke in our group, and it was like we read that moment. I got the same feeling I got when we read Gandalf saying "Fool of a Took."
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, like we just broke the fourth wall, like Ferris Bueller style.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is so cool. Another thing I want to talk about is it's a really funny scene, is the Lembas bread scene. I thought it was two things that are really interesting. First thing, they brought up that Lembas bread, as long as the wrapper around it is unbroken and the bread is not broken, like they're not just taking little pieces of it, that it will not spoil. It'll
Right.
just stay fresh in their basket, however long. That's really cool, first of all.
Because it was made with love.
Yeah, made
Yeah.
with love. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is the fact that like there's this concept of a food. It's just a neat concept being introduced into this world. We've sort of had a little bit of this with the alcohol
Mirivore.
Mirivore.
Which they mentioned in this chapter,
Yeah.
translated to sweet mead.
Sweet meat.
Yeah, some like booze.
Nice,
Like
yeah.
it keeps them rolling.
I'm imagining it like a slice of like banana bread, like a little
So is that your Lembas
little
bread?
thing. I don't know.
Like a loaf?
I was thinking about what would be my Lembas bread. What is the thing that I eat? Let's say I eat it like 10:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of good till like the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, it's consistently cheesesteaks.
You eat cheesesteaks at 10:30 in the morning.
Sometimes. When I have a cheesesteak, I don't want any more food for at least 8 to 10 hours.
Well, that's because it's about 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not going to stay good no matter how
3/4
good the
of your
wrapper
daily-
is.
Well, I put it in my
no.
pocket and it went back. But there are some food. I was curious if you got, what would be a thing that would like that you guys know that when you eat it, you're good for the day. Like if you're walking around New York City, you're like, I got to eat this because we're gonna walk for the next 10 hours.
Oh, okay.
I know exactly what this is for me. On any given day, you give me a bowl of oatmeal at like 11 o'clock, and I'll be good till about 7 p.m.
Really?
And I can do fucking anything.
But there's nothing in oatmeal. It's just
Soluble
sugar.
fiber.
Yeah, which makes you poopies.
There's protein, there's
Yeah,
fiber.
but between now and then, I'm going to get a lot done.
If I'm being honest, it's when sometimes we'll wake up and we're not huge like pancake French toast people or stuff like that. We'll just make like 6 breakfast meats: pork roll, sausage,
We're a meat.
bacon,
We're breakfast meat.
scrapple.
Protein only for breakfast.
When I
That's the rule.
have like a spread of breakfast meats, I'm not eating a dinner at least. And at dinner, I'm having a salad. I just had my daily allotment of protein at 8 a.m. in the morning. And then I always have to say my favorite meal. I also thought of a teeny tiny little bag, elven bag that keeps it fresh and perfect.
It's cocaine.
Testicles.
heroin.
Of the perfect amount of shrimp scampi. With a
What's in the
homemade,
bag? Shrimp scampi.
with a homemade linguine.
I did not think that when I said cocaine, 4 words later, it was going to be weirder.
Shrimp scampi.
All right, Laura.
All right. When I was at Rutgers, we had this thing called the grease trucks. And so it was all of these food trucks that would sell grease sandwiches. And so these sandwiches would contain pretty much anything that you could put in a deep fryer. So it would be a big, I don't know, like 16-inch roll filled with French fries, chicken fingers,
Mozzarella.
eggs, like anything, like hamburger
Who the
meat,
fuck is putting an
cheesesteak
egg in a
meat.
deep fryer?
Well, okay, the
You
egg
fry
does
the egg
not
and
go
throw
in
it
the
on
deep
top.
fryer, but it
Oh,
goes in the
okay.
sandwich.
I was like,
and
that's
you can top
radical.
it with.
New Jersey's a crazy place.
It is.
You guys are taking eggs and going, cracking them
Deep
into a
fried.
deep fryer.
Yeah.
Save yourself.
So would you
Yeah.
like your egg fried? No.
Save yourself. That's exactly it. It's like 4,000 calories in a single
Oh my
sandwich.
gosh.
And you would just get one of these in the middle of a night out on the town. Or in, the
And then
ghetto
you wake up and
of
you're
New
like,
Brunswick.
I'm not eating anything.
What was the challenge?
Stuff.
It was like if you made a custom sandwich and ate 3 of them in one
You
sitting.
can name it after yourself.
Yeah, and they
it
put it
would
on the
appear
menu.
on the menu.
Oh my God.
Oh, I
Yeah.
would have crushed.
You would have.
You think that, but there'd be 400 drunk college kids in a parking lot, and the only thing there were these 2 grease trucks, and everyone's in line or eating a sandwich or watching somebody who thought they could do the challenge throw up. Those are the 3 things you're doing in that parking lot.
Oh, I
Yeah.
called them grease sandwiches because I was thinking the grease trucks.
Yeah.
Fat sandwiches.
Fat sandwiches.
Yeah. Edit
Yeah.
that. Fat sandwiches is what they're
No
called.
one's gonna.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's very important.
Okay.
No, you're not invited.
Is there a treat?
Yes.
I think I need a treat.
Let's do some treats.
I want Lembas bread now.
Ta-da!
Dude, is this Lembas bread?
It sure is.
That's amazing.
I was totally fucking joking, and you actually provided Lembas bread.
In a chapter where like a whole 3 foods were mentioned, finally, I had to pick one. But obviously, Lembas bread.
Good news, we've got lembas bread for the rest of the story.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You just put that in your back
We
pocket.
can't eat anything for the next like 3 episodes.
It'll last, but once you take a bite, it immediately goes bad.
Laura, can you
Give it
put
an hour or so.
can you put one of these in a freezer and then we can have it at the end of the Lord of the Rings, like the end of the Return of the King?
Sure. I mean, all of them are
With
here.
our Lembas wine.
Oh my god!
Lembas?
No, that we have
No.
to drink that much sooner.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have that the last chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
So we've got some lembas bread here. It is wrapped in green tissue paper in the absence of malorn leaves or even banana leaves. You know, unbelievably, in winter in Pennsylvania, you can't find any banana leaves to wrap your lembas bread. We actually have 2 different recipes that I couldn't
Ooh.
decide. One of them is all flour and one of them has almond flour in it as well.
I love that you made these like travel size. They're like 3-inch squares and they're
Yeah.
about half an inch tall. It's delightful.
Right. Chris, you have the almond flour one.
So this
You have a regular flour one.
Okay.
Almond flour.
I also love that you have the like cross on it, so you can make little triangles.
Yeah, you have to.
So we got these cool little square loaves of bread. They got little X's in them. They're thick. Well, it looks like you and RJ have thicker ones.
Yours are half flour and half almond flour. Because
Okay.
I kind of felt like the almond flour was a little bit more
Almondy.
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretentious.
Yeah, correct. They both taste good, so
No, honestly, yeah, this is fucking outstanding.
just eat a corner.
And there's like a cram.
I'm stuffed. Anybody else stuffed from
Is
their
there
one
ginger or cinnamon or anything like that?
bite? It's got like a ginger snap thing going on.
yeah.
There's cinnamon and nutmeg and honey.
Try some of that, and then I want a little.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah, we
actually
should
ate that
switch. So we can each taste.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Here's
so
the flour
good.
one.
Take a little rip of that guy.
It's very light, and it's honestly it's not dry. Like I was expecting it to be really hard and crumbly.
Ooh, I like that.
It's really good.
That's crumbly. Nice.
So, and in the wine it goes, Christopher.
Might be better with
Chris's
coffee.
bread is bleeding. How is it with wine? You don't look thrilled. He's taking a long.
Mistake.
Yep, there it is.
The almond flour makes it very sweet, which is nice.
Yeah, it does. It
that?
adds a little bit
I
of
thought
sweetness.
dipping in the wine would help it, but it didn't. It's
a
not
little
the same
dry.
as milk. Because ginger snaps dipped into milk might be the greatest cookie combination. It's a sneaky cookie combination. Because naturally everybody goes, oh, chocolate chip or whatever. Dipped in
I
milk.
like ginger snap in coffee.
Man, ginger snap in like a creamy liquid of something. Even if you have coffee with cream, black coffee probably not as good.
It's
but like
also
a
good.
creamy coffee. No, I disagree.
Somewhere there's somebody looking at their package of Oreos and swearing to see you buried.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think it's better than Oreos for sure. Ginger snaps and milk, way better than Oreos and milk for sure.
Ooh. Hot take.
I think you got to find the right ginger snaps before you can have that conversation.
I have found them.
Oh.
But you didn't share? I
Oh.
thought we were friends. You said that earlier.
Dude, I love ginger snaps. Them and milk, oh, I'll take them any day over an Oreo.
This
Oh my
motherfucker.
God.
No, honestly, these are fantastically flavorful, and they're a little drier than like a cake, and they're a little softer than a cookie.
On purpose.
Yeah,
They make
it's
you want to
nice.
enjoy a beverage.
They're
with
like
it.
this is what I expect a
Like you'd
scone
have
to be
to
like,
choose a
and it never
beverage.
is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I already ate mine, so I guess I'm like
Holy
Gimli,
shit, woman.
and I just ate my elven bread for the day.
Well, that's because you only ate one piece of pizza for dinner. The rest of us had 3.
That's a good point.
This is my first Lembas bread, and it might be my last one.
He's dying.
But
Oh,
it's
is it diminishing?
He's fading away like
I'm
Lorien.
fading. I am honestly so impressed. This is so delicious.
So before we end, do you guys remember way back in the day we discussed like party business only and how
Yeah.
like fun it was that on their birthdays hobbits give other people things?
Yeah.
Well, November fucking sucked, so I didn't have the time or wherewithal to give you guys anything. But I do in fact have a couple of things for you.
Oh, for your
Yes.
birthday.
Yes, for my birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So you're
that's
gonna celebrate like a
Bilbo of
hobbit.
you.
I love it.
Yeah. So I have some little packages,
Aw,
and I have one for RJ.
thank you.
And one for Chris. And Laura, yours is going to be that subscription like massage package thing we talked about. It's honestly, guys, she got the best one, but that's because she's my wife.
Well, yeah.
My wife. But
Blockbuster?
yeah, Blockbuster. Faux show.
I got you a $300 gift card to Blockbuster.
This is so cute.
So no, open your little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, open yours first. And this was before I knew that Chris got hurt.
Oh no,
I want to specify.
Oh my God. Ibuprofen.
that is hysterical.
200 tablets of 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. This will be gone in 2 weeks.
I was gonna say now you can take 80,000 a day.
Oh my god.
Happy my birthday, buddy.
No, legitimately. This is 8 days.
Oh my god. Stop.
No.
I'm going next.
Okay, sorry. right, so
Oh my god!
what? All right, so what is it?
I got the game The Mind.
Yes.
I played this
The
with you
Mind?
guys.
I love The Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Yes.
We
Okay.
got that game now?
Yeah, you got that game now.
That's so cool.
I got you that game, so you have that game.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
I thought
You
it
got
was,
her that game so that you can give me this game.
Yes.
You're gonna need it.
I told you this story to tell you that story.
You guys are getting it. I feel seen.
So you can read the mind.
No, so yes, read the minds. Also, that's why I wanted to do this, because a huge part of Lothlorien and Lorien and all these chapters was
Mind
reading.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, the Mind is a card game where you have like a deck of cards numbered from 1 to 100, and the entire game is everybody gets dealt one card secretly. Everybody looks at their own card, and then without talking, as a table, you have to put down the cards in numerical order. If you do, congratulations, you win the hand. If you fail, so like if the four of us got dealt cards and it went 37, 48, 100, and you had like the number 70, Chris, then we would not have succeeded and we'd have to start again.
We know how numerical order works.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Laura Beth.
That was the sound of your dick going.
Oh my god.
Well, you know what? It'll match like the fucking. Never mind.
It'll match your nipples around your waist.
Oh my god.
Dude, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
this
those
is so
gifts.
awesome.
Honestly, I really
Happy
appreciate
birthday to
it.
you.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. It's not your birthday.
It was. It
But thank
was.
you.
It
Months
was.
Happy
ago.
birthday to you for me.
Yes. Happy my birthday.
Yeah. Happy my birthday.
Yes.
Sounds good. All right, that's a wrap on Chapter 8 of Book 2 of Fellowship of the Ring. I think we had a really good time here tonight. How about you?
Oh yeah.
Everybody have a good time?
Definitely.
Everybody say what they want to say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Freak yeah. All right, guys. We got 2 chapters left, right?
I can't
We have the
believe it.
penultimate chapter coming up.
2 chapters left in this
We got
freaking
some
book.
shit coming.
We're almost 33.33333% done this book.
Actually, I think we
Series.
are.
Yeah.
We are? Yeah.
There's only like
series.
62 chapters.
Yeah,
in
so
the
we're
whole.
like hitting that 1/3 of the way through. I am so proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too.
He learned to read for this.
I learned to read for this. I haven't read a big book in a long time.
Yeah, I'm so pleased that you're reading Lord of the Rings. I love doing this with you guys.
Yeah.
It is a fairly daunting and dry read if you're not really sold on the idea already. So for everybody who's deciding to join us on this journey, thank you. It's cool. I hope you're having a lot of fun because I'm fucking loving this.
Yeah.
And next chapter will be
The Great River.
Ooh.
The Great River.
the Great River, the Anduin.
Oh,
Yes.
shnikes.
And remember, water is the eternal foe.
Shit.
She gets it.
Yeah. I love that that's like a thing with our podcasts. It's a reoccurring thing.
It gives you the wet wang.
Good night.
And on that note, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Fool of a Took podcast. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Go share this with somebody that you know that you think might dig or might fuck with us. You know. Thank you. This is Fool of a Took. I'm Schmiss.
I'm drunk.
I'm
That's Rouge. We're Took.
I hope you're having as much fun as
I
we
hope you're
are.
enjoying the podcast.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye tonight.
We're broken.